There's a healthy sense of optimism that Ben Simmons is going to be 100% healthy to start the season. What does that mean for the Brooklyn Nets and ultimately the NBA? Let's talk about it. Listen, if you're new to the channel, this is P.kidd Talks NBA. Hey, had some time in New York. It's been about a week since I was there. I said that in the last video, but I wanted to jump in and get back to this daily content. So again, I appreciate all the support. Let's get into it. Listen, Ben Simmons right now has been the butt of every joke that you could come up with. In fact, he's been on several verses of people saying, hey, I don't care about working Ben Simmons, stuff like that, right? But at the end of the day, Ben Simmons has always been that one person where you just said, if he just shifted his mindset a little bit, it's going to be a real scary time for the NBA. Here's what I want people to realize. Ben Simmons is probably one of the most talented people on the floor at the point guard position if he actually cares. At his height, with his speed, his athleticism, I don't need him to take no goddamn jump shots. In fact, if all he did was sit there and set other people up, there's plenty of people in NBA history who can do it. And the funny thing is, he wouldn't actually be bad. No one ever really remembers that Magic Johnson didn't have the prettiest jump shot. In fact, out of a lot of the highlights you see of Magic Johnson, very few of them were about him shooting. Very few of them. And if you look at his career averages, he averaged anywhere at his peak about 22, 23 points a game. Now, mind you, I'm not comparing Ben Simmons to Magic Johnson. Magic Johnson is a pure stud winner. Prime Magic Johnson was the best point guard the league has ever seen, even to this day. Argue with your mama about it. But if you ever wanted to see someone come close, who had a similar style of game, who probably had the same deficiencies, Ben Simmons could come close to it if he actually gave a crap about the game. I know you got LeBron. I know you got all these other point forwards who actually can. But as far as size, what he can do, and how he can create, a focused Ben Simmons is a scary, scary player, even without a jump shot. So when I sit there and I see a healthy Ben Simmons, I always look at that as you might have something there. I think the Nets could go pretty far if they have a motivated Ben Simmons who takes the game seriously. And this is something that we've all said. In fact, I've been on this same pod. I've been on other pods. Catch me on the Windy City Breeze. We talk Chicago sports over there. That said that a Ben Simmons on the Chicago Bulls would have been great. Because I don't need nobody at the point guard position to take a jump shot. I need somebody to defend, to get that rebound, push the pace, and set my shooters up. And there's a lot of teams that need that type of person. And he's always going to have a spot on a team if he could do that. The game is literally orchestrated to have more offensive possessions at this point, which means if you have someone who's willing to give up his game to sacrifice for the betterment of the team, look out. Look at what Draymond Green has done. And even Draymond Green talked about confidence in the player and even mentioned Ben Simmons a little bit about how he's still the same player, stuff like that. We'll get to that a little bit later. But if you look at Draymond Green had an offensive bag. He actually was just on a Paul George podcast, which I think is a great podcast, by the way. Shout out to PG for that. And he talked about how he sacrificed his game just to get on the floor. You don't look for Draymond Green to shoot. You don't look for him to shoot threes, twos, or nothing. In fact, sometimes because he does it so little, it looks really awkward when he does it. But he's still a Hall of Famer. He's still a defensive juggernaut. You can't do anything with him. Ben Simmons has that same potential even now. Now, I'm not going to sit there and get on this train and make it seem as if I've been a Ben Simmons fan this entire time. I haven't. I just want to say this. Game recognized game. And I noticed when he was focused, when he had the opportunity to shine, when he was just not in his head, and when his back wasn't hurt, he looked pretty good. Even the few stints that he had in the Nets jersey, he had a few instances in which he wasn't confident and it showed. Then he had little spurts that was just like, yo, watch out. He had spurts where it's like he could get to that bucket anytime he wanted. There was nothing anyone can do about it. If I'm not mistaken, Ben Simmons is like 6'10", 6'11". Freight train. Strong dude. He can get to that cup anytime he wants. And he's going to demand, and if he does that, he's going to demand a double team because there's not many people who can stand in front of him. Decent handle, quick, strong, bully ball a little bit. We've seen him do it. He just has to string it together. Now I want to hear your thoughts, man. I know I got my Brooklyn hat on. Well, I got my Yankees hat on. Forgive me. Right now, I'm repping NY a little bit. I'm feeling the culture from NY. I have to admit, New York to me, I like the vibe, man. New York was a time. It owes me nothing. And if there's any other city I would live in outside of Chicago, it would probably be New York, man. That it's a dirty city, but I love it. I had a great time, and the just different cultures. Pleasant spots. But so if you're from New York, man, how do you feel about it? How do you feel about potentially seeing a new look Ben Simmons, a healthy Ben Simmons on the floor? Let's be a little optimistic, because you know what? The one thing I don't want to do is I don't want to clown a player for losing his confidence. I don't want to clown a player just because he has the opportunity and he's in a situation where he makes millions of dollars, to take the human aspect out of it. Now, I think some of it could have been a ploy, but then there's a side of me that actually looked at his injury and stuff like that, and people have said, no, that's real. And as someone who's actually suffered a back injury before, it's real. You get that sharp pain down your side, and it can go either way, right or left side, and you feel like you can't push off and stuff like that. That's real. It doesn't matter what age, you can get that at any point in time. And I've had that where my entire left side is locked up. But in my mind, it's like, all right, let's go. But my body was like, we ain't going nowhere, Playboy. We sitting right here. So I want to take the human aspect of it. I think it's at one point he lost his confidence. Then his body didn't allow him to do what he needed to do. But I also think that he needs to actually grow up and take his career seriously if this is what he wants to do. And that's something that was always a question about Ben Simmons. So while I want to be human, I want to sit there and give him, be as encouraging to the situation as possible, because I do want to see him actually succeed. I also have to sit there and keep it a buck. You got to show up. You got to show out. So if he's healthy, he needs to show that he's healthy. I don't care about rest. I'm talking about availability, being on the floor, and just a whole change in attitude of how he approaches the game. If he does that, I think the city of New York will love him. Obviously, the Nets of Brooklyn will love him. For sure, Brooklyn will love him. I want to hear your thoughts, man. What do you think a healthy Ben Simmons will look like? How does this put Brooklyn Nets on the map? Give me your thoughts, man. It's going to be a heck of a season for them, and I'm looking forward to seeing it, man. But again, whether it's love, whether it's hate, put it in the comments. I'll be in there with you. It's your boy P.kidd. Till next time. Peace.